Welcome back to today's channel, and this is the second episode, and we're just gonna straight into it. So, as you see in the first episode, we wrote this basic code and we went over the basics. But now we're gonna talk about statements and iteration statements and important stuff like that. So let's just get straight into it. Now we're just gonna keep adding on to this. So as you see here, console that ran hello this response. All right, so as you see here, we're just gonna get rid of this right here. So we're still gonna keep reusing response because that's what basically what the user is going to reply to this. So now we're going to introduce this first iteration statement called if. So now as you see right here, you might know this might look complicated, but it's not. So as you see here, if statement, if, and then this is the condition. This is very important. Whatever's in here, if as long as if it's true, then then whatever happens in here will happen. So I know this doesn't sound too good, but here. So if response equals John. As you see here, if the response, like if the user says his name is John, it'll say hello, John. So this is the first step in if statements. This is the condition, and as long as it's true, it'll print it'll do this. Not too complicated. So next up, we're gonna put else. Now basically, if this condition is not true, like if it's false, like if his name is not John and he puts something else, it'll carry out this action. Constant. As you see here, if John is not in response, like if the user doesn't say his name is John, it'll carry out whatever happens in here else. This is for security, so that the app will this application will actually crash if this condition is not true, if we do not have this. So this is very important. This is just for security. So now we can add another condition. So we're going to do that right now. So we can add else if. This is another condition. Response equals Timmy. As you see here, these are two conditions. Now, if both of them haven't been met, like if both of them are false, like their name is not Timmy or John, it will carry out whatever's in the else. As usual, the else always goes at the end. As you see here, now if we don't have to add else, but it's very important to do so at some points. You're gonna understand this later on. So these are basic if statements. These are going to be very important, and you have to know what these are. That this is the condition, and that whatever if this is true, it'll happen right here. And if it's false, it'll happen else. So these are very important, and we'll get into later about if statements. So now we're going to go ahead and clear everything, and we're going to get into for loops. So for loops. This might look a little complicated, but it's not. Int equals I. Okay, so this is a for loop. So this is saying as long as basically. As long as I equals 0. Wait. Okay, yeah. As long as I equals 0 right now, and as long as I is greater than 5, then I will go up by 1. So this is plus plus is saying that I is going to count up by 1 every second. Now we can actually change this by putting plus equal, and we can put in whatever number we want. So now I will count up by 5, and we're just going to leave it at plus plus. So as you see here right now, this is not possible. So this will actually crash because I starts off at 0. So we should just change this the other way around. So now as long as 5 is greater than 5 I, then I will count up by 1. So as you see here now, how do you might wonder why is this important? This is basically a loop. We can actually change I to whatever we want. Like we could use something else. Like we could even use args. Wait, no, okay, wait. Into I. We can change this to whatever we want, basically. You get the point. So this has to be an integer in order for this to work. So we can now print I. So as you see here now, it'll count up I 5 times, as you see here. It counted up I 5 times. And that is basically it for basic loops, iteration statements. And we got into the basics, and we will get into the advanced iteration statements in the next episode. And that's all for today for the basic